Have you ever done something with the best intentions, only to find out later that you made a huge mistake? Having to own it when we're wrong can be hard. But what if we could courageously acknowledge these mistakes and see them as opportunities for growth? In 2021, I passionately stood on a stage and delivered a talk about how not to use our conscious bias to eliminate people and experiences, sharing my own personal dating preferences and my relationship as an example. I was challenging all of my conscious bias and winning. Or so I thought. Now, while I was challenging my conscious bias, I was completely ignoring my personal core values because I didn't even know I was missing them. Conscious bias is something that we might associate with a form of discrimination, like height, sex, age, or gender, where personal core values are just that. They're personal, and they can include things like wanting to live a healthy lifestyle and choosing not to be with somebody who drinks or smokes excessively. Like many single women, I had my dream partner wish list. I did. It included things like a tall partner who was a foodie, enjoyed a healthy lifestyle, and was up for dancing across the globe. I would immediately swipe left on anybody under 6 feet tall or with small children, until I met the man who appeared to be my fairy tale partner. He was 5'9", had 6 kids, 2 living at home, and a dog, all because I was challenging my conscious bias. Our relationship looked Facebook fabulous. But as my talk date approached, it started to head in a very unhealthy direction. And I did not have the capacity to share that insight. I was still trying to understand what was going on, barely confessing to myself that my amazing relationship wasn't so impressive. Since I was passionate about the topic, I decided to move forward with that talk, not realizing the price that I would soon pay. A few months later, we broke up, and that talk became a thorn in my side. As a recovering manaholic, I had been groomed from the womb to believe that I needed a man to survive. I was following in the footsteps of my mother, who ended up in a wheelchair, unable to walk or care for herself in her golden years. I believe that my mother's health challenges were a side effect of her people-pleasing tendencies and not speaking her truth in trade for the appearance of security. As I approached my 50th birthday, I knew I had come to a fork in the road. I could stay in an unhealthy relationship, or I can jump into the unknown. So I jumped without a parachute. When I left that relationship, my business was on the brink of extinction. I had credit card debt, a few dollars, and a couple of personal belongings, with nowhere to go. I promised I would never put myself in that position again. I realized I kept ending up in unhealthy relationships over and over again, and not just in my personal partnerships, but I had several unhealthy jobs, all in the name of financial stability. I first had to admit that I had a problem. I was addicted to the belief that I needed a man. It was time to ask myself some tough questions. Why did I settle? Why did I believe that I needed a man? I realized I've been living from the conditioned values, the ones that are taught or passed down from generation to generation, instead of my personal core values I have yet to discover. I sat down and created a list. It included things like personal safety, living a healthy lifestyle, being surrounded by kind and supportive humans, and freedom. Determining my core values was a process of trial and error. With each new opportunity, I got to assess my list and tweak them as I learned. I had to get comfortable with choosing me first. And at times, as a recovering people pleaser, that was a difficult challenge. But I had to remind myself of all the times that I didn't and the pain that comes along with those choices. Most of my poor choices in life, before clarifying my personal core values, came out of fear. And not the emotional fear that tells me there's a lion over there and I'm going to get hurt. But blind fear, which the mind creates and has an emotional charge. I started to learn that when I'm emotionally charged, my body chemistry is off, and it interferes with my ability to make decisions. Now, I no longer make any decision, whether I'm happy, sad, or mad. We tell people not to operate heavy machines or to drive vehicles under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Yet, we have conversations, some that are life-changing when we're emotionally charged. Let me give you some examples. Have you ever been mad and said something that you regretted later when you calmed down? No, nobody out there? Have you ever been happy and said yes, only later to regret your decision? Or maybe you've said no to an opportunity because you were sad and later wish that you had went. All emotions create a change in our body's chemistry. I have retrained myself to sleep on my decisions. If I wake up and I don't have emotional clarity, I repeat the process until the emotional charge is gone. In 2024, I had the opportunity to use my personal core values to evaluate a potential partner. He looked promising. He loved ballroom dancing, and we had several interests in common, such as our political and religious beliefs. I was excited. He was health conscious, loved to dance, and he was already retired, which created opportunity for us to travel. My clarity on my personal core values seemed to be guiding me in a healthy new direction. Finally. Until I realized one more piece of critical information. The other person must also have clarity on their personal core values. And he hadn't identified his yet. And unlike my previous relationships, it was easy for me to walk away and choose me. I have a favorite dance quote. It says, "I finally found my rhythm when I realized that even the steps backwards are part of the dance." I no longer beat myself up for what I didn't know. I now know that my last unhealthy relationship was a gift. Had it not been for that experience, I would have never gained clarity on who I am and what my personal core values are. Now, while I still challenge my conscious bias, anytime an opportunity arises, whether it's personal or professional, I use my personal core values as a tool to guide my decision-making process, which allows me to use my discernment and to make choices from a place of peace rather than emotionally charged beliefs that I need something or someone to create the life I want. Now, let's chat about you. Have you ever thought about how your conscious bias might be holding you back from experiencing amazing opportunities? Do you know your personal core values? And if you do, are you leveraging them to create the life you want? Thank you.